spot by whatever count is, and then we're incrementing count. And just like the if statements, you'll notice that you got to add brackets for these loops too. Like if you have more than one statement on a line, if I had another statement in here, like count plus plus or whatever, not that I really want that there, I would have to add a bracket there if it's more than one statement. If you have one statement, you can get away with not adding the bracket, but if there's more than one statement, always have a bracket, or it will only read the one line. This will never be read. Okay. It goes the same for if statements. Okay, and then down here, we're going to use another for loop to actually initialize our number array, or num array, I'm sorry. We're using the other array that wasn't initialized with values. Okay, now we're doing the same thing. We're setting, actually what we're doing here is we're creating the I increment variable, initializing it to 0, and then we're checking if I is less than max. So it's going to keep doing this until it equals the max value, which is 5. Each time it goes through the loop, it's going to increment I plus 1, so it's eventually going to reach the max value. That's what these for loops do. Okay, so each time it's going to assign 0 to whatever number it's on using I. So it's going to start at 0 in the loop until it equals the max value 5. It's going to put a 0 for each one of their values. So basically we're setting 0 to every one of the spots in the array. And we're doing this so that down here we can actually use the array. Okay, now like I said, this is a do while loop. Do until the condition is met. Alright. So what we're doing here is we're actually printing a menu. But you'll be seeing this in later videos. I'm going to use menus a lot to basically show you how objects work in the beginning. Which I can't wait till we get to that. It's a little more interesting. Okay, so we can see we're outputting here. Right now that's just a blank line. It's end L, it stands for end line. And each time you do a different command, you want to put these output brackets there. And less than brackets, however you want to look at it. Okay, so we're basically giving the user options. We're telling them you put in a 1 to add numbers to the number array. Put a 2 in to print numbers in the array. Put a 3 in to exit, shut down the program. And we move on, we get the user response. You've seen this in the earlier videos. We're storing whatever they type into the response variable. Then we're going to go down and we're going to use the switch that we've seen in the previous videos. We're going to check, basically it's going to take whatever's in the response variable and it's going to compare it to each case. If the user response equals 1, in other words, if the user typed 1, as in they want to do that number 1 on the menu, it's going to do whatever's under the case 1. So in this case, it's actually going to let the user add a number to the array. Okay, so we would say, please enter a number to add to the number array. This is what the user would see. And we're going to let them add a number. We're going to use the num integer to store whatever they type. We're going to find a blank in the array by using a loop. Not a blank, I'm sorry. We're going to use the 0 because we initialized up here all spots in the array to 0. So now we know what value to look for to find the blank. Okay. Where was I? Oh, here we go. Okay, so we're going to use that increment I, set it to 0. We're going to check if I is less than max. See how easy it is to use this max. Everything's the same. You can keep using that variable over and over. You don't have to type the same number in. Okay, and then we increment like we did before. We go down, we use the brackets because we have all this to do. So definitely need the brackets in there. You got a starting bracket and an ending bracket. Alright. Now we're going to check to see if the current array number value is equal to 0. If it is, then we know we can store a value within that spot. Alright, so I always use two equal signs to check to see if it's equal to. If it is equal to. One equal sign is an assignment operator. In other words, you're assigning 0 to the number array instead. You're not checking to see if it is equal. So you want two equal signs. I like to add two that you could use to not equal, which is used by the exclamation. Lots of ways to check different things. I've added new tutorials on operators, and a good place you can go check that out. Let's go ahead and have a look on the forum that these links, all these videos came from. It explains operators, and if you read into that stuff, you'll understand them a little better. Okay, and at the end of this, I'd like to point out that I used a break because you want to jump out of the loop and use a break statement to do that. It ends this loop right here because you found the blank spot and you've inserted the value. Otherwise, if you didn't break out, it would keep looping through and keep trying to do it, and it would keep adding that same value to all spots in the array. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so now it breaks out. Okay, now if the response value that the user entered was 2, it'll print all values that are in the array. As you can see, they're going to use another for loop. They're very useful because you always initialize this variable, this increment variable, always used for counting. Okay, so it does the same thing I've explained before. Checks to see if I is less than max. It doesn't until it is. Keeps doing whatever this is. Anything that's under the loop, the body of the loop. Okay, so in this case, it's actually printing out the array. So everything that we put into the array, or anything that we initialize the array to, will be printed. Before we printed out zeros, so there will always be zeros. If this would be your first choice, it would print all zeros. Okay, and then the third case would be the exit, as we see up here in the menu. Exit, so in other words, it would exit the program. We're taking that Boolean value that we set earlier, and we're setting it to true. In other words, it's time to end. So now when it gets down to this ending bracket for the switch statement, it's going to know to go to the end of the loop. It's going to go to this. And what this loop is doing, and this whole do while that we started with, is it's checking to see if that stop value, that Boolean value, is not equal to stop. In this case, we set it to true because that third value is equal to true, or that response value is equal to 3. It's going to do this, and it's going to set that value to true. So this is going to equal false. So in other words, it should equal false for it to keep looping. But if it equals true, then it's time to stop. And then what it would do is it would go down to here, and that would be it. It would end the program. What else could we go into? I think that's pretty much it for looping. I'm going to try to include one of my programs that I've actually built. It's an animal guessing game. This actually gives you, more direction toward game programming, and better focus toward it, and gives you the right kind of structure to get started on it. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.